What's up guys, Josh back. Got a quick video for you today. We are going to be working on the Driveshaft center support bearing on the R32 GTR. So I ordered this support bearing directly from Japan. I got it for less than $100, where most people locally were trying to sell it for 200 bucks. So the problem I had on the stock one is this rubber bushing was completely shot and disintegrated, nothing left, and this thing was all bent up, so the drive shaft was kind of flopping around inside of this housing. So we're gonna get that fixed, and you can see the support bearing's got an F for the front, so you know what side goes which way, and it will just sit in here just like this. Alright, so I've got it mounted into the center support bracket, and you can see it fits nice and snug all the way around. Nice metal ring there, and there's a little bit of tension or slack on each side. Once I tighten this down to the chassis, it'll address all that. So let's get underneath the car and take the drive shaft out that's in there, pull the bearing out, put this in and put it back in. If you're curious about the model number, that's the model number for the center support bearing. I'll put a link in the description down below from where I got it from, Right Hand Drive Japan. And it comes with a new nut as well as washer to get it all snugged into place there. And guys, I'm so excited. Once I get this center support bearing done on the center drive shaft, my car is done for the summer and it is ready to drive. As you can see, it is sunny outside, and I've been working on this car on and off for a year. It hasn't really been driven, so I'm pretty excited. In the last 2 years since I purchased it, I've only put 500 miles on it. So let's get it finished. Let's get underneath. Alright, so this is underneath the center of the car. You can see the drive shaft, center drive shaft bearing. I got the center support off there. The housing is still around there, like the rubber bushing around the bearing, which you can see is all kind of bent. And we'll take that off and you get a better look at it. Alright, so I'm underneath and I've got my torque wrench out, and I've pretty much broken all these free on this back one. I'm working on the front one right here. I've got all 6 of the back ones broke free in the front one. I've got to rotate the drive shaft around, so I've got the car jacked up, got the front wheels blocked off. Front wheels are blocked off to keep it from rolling, and I just got to rotate this around a little bit here. So I'm just going to turn the wheel by hand. And that's right where I need it. Alright, so we're looking at the drive shaft here in the back, and I've got 8mm Allen on this. And we're just going to torque these off. And then as far as getting these drive shafts off, I got a big torque wrench. I'm going to use the little piece in the transfer case to hold that bolt as I rotate it. There we go. Alright. So these are all loose. And I've got all the other bolts broke free. the leverage brick set right off, which I was trying to catch and adjust the camera, and I somewhat kind of dropped it, but I had my hand halfway underneath it, so. All right, and this is the reason for this project. If you look at this center bearing, it is completely just out of whack. So of course this drive shaft, instead of being supported, is floating all around and moving all around, which could cause damage to the drivetrain components. So let's get this thing split apart. All right, and then just make sure before you break this center drive shaft apart, see how I've got some primer just to mark each side? You can see that this thing is spun and balanced. There's weights and stuff on it, so it's balanced. So you want to make sure you put it back together, it comes apart, because you don't want it to be unbalanced and cause unwanted vibration. All right, and as far as separating these pieces, all you have to do is kind of hold it, pry up on the opposite side here and put a little leverage on it, and this will just pop apart. So now we've separated the front piece. It was all the way up in the transmission and the back piece. With all my bolts on it, I backed them out far enough to separate the two pieces, but I left them in the original place they were. I didn't pull them all the way out, so I didn't want them to get mixed up. I wanted to go in exactly the same way they came out. So you can see that's apart now. All right, so that's looking on the inside of the drive shaft there, and that's the 27mm bolt we got to take out, and you can see that they've got that area indented on that bolt, which holds it into position. So we're going to unbend that and then torque it off and pull that off and get the new bearing put in. All right, let's zip this off. All right, that's off. And I think I have to use a pulley puller to separate that. So I'll probably put the nut back on and put my pulley puller on. That's off. There we go. Well, I didn't record this part, but I've got the old bearing out. My neighbor came over and gave me a hand, so I didn't record it because he brought over his tooling. And anyway, it looks like this here. So make sure when you reinstall it that the F is facing up with these little ripples. And we used a puller that slid right around the shaft. It squeezed around this whole ring and just pulled it right up. We didn't have to hydraulic press it. Alright, well, I've got the exhaust and the drive shaft off. I'm going to go ahead and Scotch-Brite these areas of rust down, like right here, and put a few layers of paint over it to help protect it and preserve the integrity of the underbody. Same thing right there in the center, so I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. These little spots up there. Spots over there. Alright, let's get these tightened into position. Alright, and this main bolt here is 24 to 28 foot-pounds in the service manual. I'm going to torque it at 26. And this bolt or nut over here is 14 to 17 foot-pounds, so I'm just going to torque it at 15. There we go. That's all in there. Going to give it some good cushion support. Looks nice. And the seam, when I attached this into the bracket, I put the seam at the top, so it's nice and secure. All right, I'm torquing these rear bolts into the rear diff from the drive shaft at 51 foot-pounds, which are in tolerances of the factory service manual. So I'll finish tightening those up around, and we can move our way up to the center and then work connects into the transfer case. One of the most important things, you can see that I remated these within the original spots because I had some paint on there. So I did that for the same for the rear, the center, which I already repainted over it after I made it up, but this was paired up, and then same thing that was paired up in the front to where the paint was on that as well. So I'm going to tighten all these down to spec, and that'll be it for this video. Alright, so I got the rear all tightened. Now I'm moving up to the center part here. These are torqued down to the same specs here. I'm going 51 foot-pounds, so I'll just show you me tightening one, and then I'll go through and tighten the rest. Kind of hard to sit under here and record. I don't have a lot of accessibility here. Alright, we're going to rotate this around so we can finish tightening. There we go. I've got the rear position right where I want it. Pretty simple. Just jack the car up and then you can twist it right where you want it. Now I'll lower the car back down and put the e-brake on and put it back into gear and tighten them up, and we're done. Alright, tightening this down here, and it's supposed to be 64 to I think 71 foot-pounds, so I'm tightening these down at 68. I've got 3 of the 4 tightened down. Let's get this last one. Which one is it? Right here. And I'm using an open-ended wrench to get on the back. I can't get a full circular wrench on. It's a flare nut wrench. And as I get it close, I just kind of rest it against the transfer case here. And this is how I got them off too, so I'm putting them on the same way. And I kind of support the wrench to try to keep it from pulling too hard. There we go. So we are all done. Drive shaft looks like that. It's all installed. Everything's tight. And like I said earlier, I got the paint mark, made it up with where the paint was on the unit. Center drive shaft is done. It spins nice, all things tighten. These are your lock washers here, these little flat plates. These are the lock washers here. Yeah, we're all done. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you liked the center drive shaft video, and give me a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe and comment down below, and I will see you next time.